Subsidized public housing was offered up as a great municipal gift to the poor, but to the people who lived there, the note with the gift said, "It's good enough for you."
Public housing was very much housing for others. It was different. It differentiated itself in terms of its height, in terms of its concrete forms, very brutalistic architecture.
Those were the rules for most of the years Cabrini Green existed. You not only had to be poor to get into public housing, you had to stay poor to stay there. And if your income went up, you went out, leaving behind a population in need without adequate services. So this time, CHA is trying something radically different. Smaller structures, divided among apartments for subsidized rental by poor people, 30%, apartments for limited price sale to middle-income buyers, 20%, and 50% apartments for sale at whatever prices the market will bear.
If you look at what we're building, you couldn't point to a building now and tell me whether it's owned by a family making $500,000 a year, or whether that unit is occupied by a public housing family that is paying $50 a month in rent. The point is, we want a seamless community. We want the public housing units to be indistinguishable from the affordable units and from the market rate unit. And we hope that that starts to change the way everybody thinks about each other.
It's a transformation process that's working elsewhere in Chicago. These are the Ida B. Wells houses. This is one of the first public housing developments built in the city of Chicago, and as you can see, it's been emptied out and it's about to be torn down. Just a few blocks away is the brand new Oakwood Shores. And as you can see, every attempt has been made to replicate the scale, the architecture, the feel of the old neighborhood in the new one.
We have finished the first 325 rental units.
Lee Prater says subsidized and full market rentals are going fast at Oakwood Shores.
And it's almost 800 units.
Good news, the developer of the new Cabrini Green is also anxious to spread.
We have mid-rise buildings and we have townhomes. The mid-rise buildings are along the busy streets, Division and Larrabee, and then the townhomes are nestled in behind those with a lot of green space and ample parking for everybody.
Social critics applaud the idea of mixing styles of apartments and ranges of incomes in a single development. The question is, will the high-priced apartments sell?
We were scared to death that the market would not come. So we discounted our price. People were lining up at 4 in the morning. We sold 105 market rate units in 3 weeks.
Today, he says, he has a waiting list for more than 100 free market apartments selling at much higher prices. There's an even longer waiting list of old Cabrini residents who want to live in subsidized apartments in the new development. Many of them come back to the old neighborhood at least once every week.
It was home, and it still is. That's why I'm still coming back to St. Luke Church of God in Christ. I love my community. I love being around people that I know, people that I grew up with.
God bless every one of you. It's so good to be here with you today.
Sunday morning, and Clara Brooms is back at her church, packing lots of memories of the Cabrini Green that used to be, real-life memories.
It was just like a war zone. You try to dodge bullets and lay on the floor when they're shooting. And
gunplay was so routine, Clara Brooms, like any good mother, set up family rules.
What I had began to do was tell my children every time they would shoot, like 4 a.m., let's get on the floor in the hallway in case bullets come through the window. And so I had did it so much. One Sunday morning, it was about maybe 5 o'clock, I said, you know what? We're not getting on the floor tonight. We're going to stay in our beds. So we stayed there. About 7:30 a.m., I got up and I said, you know what, I may have made a mistake. And when I went to the window, I saw that my window in my son's room had been shot out. And I was scared to turn around. And when I turned, I saw the bullet had lodged in the wall just above my son's head. And I was just, it really hurt me, you know. I was thinking, oh my God, you know, if he had been on like 3 or 4 pillows up or more mattresses, it would have killed him. Someone offered to help me buy a house in Indiana. They said, just get away from all of this. I'll do that for you. And I said, no, I will not do that because I want to stay on the near north side of Chicago. And I want to be around people that I know. And I love them. The people here in this neighborhood, this is community.
Keeping the community together is proving hard to do. The plan for new Cabrini Green will keep few enough old residents in the neighborhood. But one group that's been largely left out is the shopkeepers who used to serve the projects. People like barber George Robbins.
We had a lot of little stuff in the shop, machineries, bowling machines, jukeboxes, stuff that kind of accommodate the kids. You know, it wasn't like every youngster that lived in Cabrini was in gangs, but they were still there. We didn't allow any drinking, gambling, any bad language, no profanity, nothing like that. So,
for 20 years, George had his barbershop at Cleveland and Division Streets, long enough to see the whole familiar Cabrini story. But now, with the new Cabrini blooming, George wants his barbershop to be there.
I would be glad to go back because it's a convenient area. And even though, you know, you have customers who have moved away, they still will come back as long as they know where we are.
But Housing Authority Executive Bill Little and developer Peter Holston are clear such sentimental reunions are not part of the plan.
This is a changing community. It's a different community. When you're looking at what was 100% public housing, there may have been different market services and goods marketed to those residents, but that don't necessarily make the jump to what is a truly integrated mixed-income community.
In the old days of Cabrini, there were a lot of little shopkeepers storefront. Are they going to have an opportunity to reintegrate into the new Cabrini Green area?
You know, that's hard to say. We really had issues with the parking. And as it turned out, I think we have 1 or 2 spaces that we are going to try and lease out, but parking is going to be an issue. We are very, very lucky that we have a large shopping center across the street.
George wanted to get into that shopping center, but
we are too small business-wise for them to really be concerned about. I lost out on getting a shop in that shopping mall they built there. That would have been just great.
So here's a hard question. If half of the residents of the new Cabrini Green can't afford Starbucks $4 coffees and have no interest in the fancy foods featured at their local supermarket, will their new neighborhood feel like home? Most of the Cabrini Green people we spoke with would love to give it a try.
And I told my daughter LaFay, I said, they will rehab these apartments and open this building back, I will move right back in my unit. And she was like, man, Ma, you really miss your house. Yes, I do. It was a lot of love, family, you know, me growing up over there.
I love Cabrini, and it'll always be my home, always.
One of the lessons learned for me reporting this story is how easy it is, viewed from the outside, to see everything that's wrong with Cabrini Green. The gangs, the drugs, the crime, the violence. But to the people who lived or are still living here, who know that stuff far better than any outsider ever could, this is home, a place that still fills their memories with people, moments, events that'll always say to them, man, that was Cabrini Green.
I'm a Midwest vet with Cabrini on my back.
Rapper Water H2O of the group Cabrini Heat remembers the basketball tournaments, the football games, and
the back-to-school picnics for the kids, you know, Christmas where it was toy giveaways, back to school giving out notebooks, pencil, you know, all the supplies, you know, the kids would need for back to school. You know, them was the days.
I loved the sports growing up. I was a tomboy. And they used to have basketball games on Chicago Avenue and Hudson. The kids were able to be kids back then.
We always had block parties, all the residents. And some residents from other neighborhoods would come also. When somebody first says Cabrini, that's what flashes in my head. Us all together, playing together, getting along, just having fun together, getting away from the negativity.
This is 624 to 714
On the wall of a building still awaiting demolition is a heavenly vision of Cabrini Green as it was and as it will be.
This is what the future holds, as the kids painted it.
We're doing something that nobody thought we could do. I think it will change the way the citizens of Chicago view public housing residents. I think it will change the way public housing residents view themselves.
Bill Little's housing authority dream may well come true, but its downside is already inescapable.
Large numbers of people are not being helped, and by the time we're done, the number of units, the number of affordable apartments that we'll have in the city will be significantly less than we had before.
Whatever the future, Cabrini Green is going in all its gore and glum glory, but it won't be forgotten. Dave Marash, Al Jazeera, Chicago.